Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we're going to cover the second half of my Shadowland Plus speedrun, where I tried to complete every single stage that was given to me without refreshing, and also as fast as I can with the most number of characters as I can so that I can get those Shadowland tokens ASAP. And now I kind of realize that deep down all you guys really want to see is the Shadowland chest openings, and I think I have 15 or 16 this time around. I usually get on average at least 15 when I do it because I have enough tier 2 characters. So what I wanted to do, and I'll get more shortly when I tier 2 the remaining few, what I wanted to do is I wanted to open these chests at the beginning of this video rather than at the end, for those of you that are just interested in the rewards. And then if you feel a little generous based on how screwed I get from RNG, you can sit back and watch the rest of the video as I go from stage, I think it's 56, all the way up to 79 with commentary. So here we go. Let's crack these babies open and see if I'm gonna get a CTP or anything super juicy from Shadowland in the, what is this, third week now? We got a nice awakened ISO. We got the Uru, which is pretty nice. A bit of gold, a bit more Uru, a bit more Uru, a bit more ISOs. Uniform upgrade kits, not bad. An obelisk, not bad, not bad. Partially awakened ISO again. Yeah, 5-star card. Okay, yeah. So no CTPs, nothing super flashy, no premium cards, no million gold or 10 million gold, but not bad. I only got one kind of shitty or dud reward, which would be the 30 killer tickets right at the beginning. The rest of it seemed to be very good. Now, again, I'm not disappointed with the rewards because I still had fun playing Shadowland, but I think for a lot of players, they would be happy if all of the 4-star Uru was 5-star Uru. And if, of course, the clear tickets were taken out and replaced with something else. I've been saying 6-star and up, but I could see how it would get pretty busted, giving me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 6-star Uru per week. I think that would kind of get out of hand. So I think 5-star for the Uru is probably good, but I like the Awakened ISO. It does help me build up characters faster, especially for ABX and stuff like that. And the 25 uniform upgrade kits, I actually really appreciate because I need them really badly to save up for uniform upgrades for endgame. Would I like these numbers to be higher? Yeah, I think it should start at 20, and then this should be 25. But that's just me. Let me know what you guys think of my rewards, and also let me know what you've gotten recently from Shadowland, plus if it's been to your liking or not. But now let's go jump into the rest of the levels. Here we go, stage 56, and on this one I was trying to use Loki against the Malekith boss that I got, because it's a villain stage and I didn't want to waste any of my stronger villains. But I gave him the Wasp leadership for the actual damage buff, for the actual damage leadership. I didn't think he was going to get debuffed or bled or anything like that, but it is a possibility. I just wasn't worried about it. I just needed to use Wasp, and then I actually ended up giving him Shuri for the extra damage because I figured without a damage proc, he would take a lot longer to clear the stage than I wanted, and I was right. This stage actually took a long time, and I'm actually pretty surprised that a level 70 Mythic Uniform CTP of Transcendence Loki with the Shuri buff to give him more damage against villains. I don't know if the damage buff, if Shuri's damage buff is not applying, but I'm pretty surprised at how low his damage is, and the fact that this looks like it's going to take me, and I don't remember exactly, but it looks right now to take about 2 full minutes to clear. So I'm kind of shocked. I don't know if you guys are shocked, if you expected Loki to do more damage, if there's someone out there who has a stronger Loki, if you have a particular stage that you think he works best on. Perhaps this Malekith stage just doesn't work very well for Loki, but he is one of those characters like Hulk. He's actually fallen further down than Hulk, and I think it's funny, like a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit longer than a year and a half ago, but anyways, at the end of 2017, when we got the Ragnarok uniform, Loki was kind of back on top, so to speak. He wasn't the best character in the game, but he was definitely a lot more relevant. He had that super niche role as the Supergiant World Boss Ultimate clear, because she could only be damaged by summoned characters, not by your attacks specifically. But since they changed that, and also just with new uniforms being released after Infinity War, Loki has just quickly lost his value to the point where a lot of people, I think, get his uniform and they mythic it for the premium card for the legendary battle, which is actually kind of wild. And I was talking about the legendary battle recently. so that's why it comes to mind. But yeah, I'm not really sure what they can do to make Loki better other than just giving him more damage on his summons, which is basically what this uniform did. They could perhaps give him some sort of passive summon the way that Clea has one, but let me know what you guys think Loki needs to actually be better. He's not bad though. This stage 57, it looks like I'm bringing a lot of heavy hitters. I got lucky, I got another entry mode, so you can see there at the top next to the stage name, we've got Vulture, Silk, and Wong just being carted to victory here by Ronin, Nova, and Cull Obsidian. They're going to be doing the heavy lifting here. Those other three characters are just there to get carried so I can get my tokens faster. But I was actually kind of surprised. The first half of this fight goes by pretty easily and kind of without any sort of problems. But you'll see in the second half of the fight, it's actually a lot more difficult than I thought, taking on Thor, Loki, and Odin. Yeah, not only do my characters come close to dying, but also we come close to losing to the stage timer, which is pretty wild. I mean, to be fair, none of these characters that I brought in have damage procs. They all have defensive builds. You know, Ronin just has a defensive build because I never thought he would be good offensively, and his uniform does make him a lot better, so I could explore that option, but it just hasn't kind of happened. Nova, on the other hand, I was using him for PvP for a while, so we had the CTP of Authority, and then Cull Obsidian, we were doing testing against Hulk, so we wanted to kind of match his max HP invincibility obelisk. But I was actually shocked, all three of my characters going into the minus, you know, sub 50% range, and only because Cull Obsidian and Ronin have heals do they actually end up bouncing back. But Nova's dangerously close to dying. I guess that's what happens when you let your characters get auto-played. But I was shocked playing this. I was worried. I kept looking over at the health bar of my characters, but then I started noticing that we were running out of time. Tough stage, and I didn't expect Nova to be that bad on autoplay, but we ended up getting the full 6 tokens. This stage 58 took me quite a few attempts to complete. I was kind of annoyed. I ended up using Ancient One. I mean, I was using Ancient One and Anti-Venom, but I ended up using Ancient One's third skill. That third skill has a debuff removal effect on the ground, so it basically prevents my Inferno from being stunned or snared or binded or any kind of CC while the effect is on. And I know it's only a few seconds, it's already gone, but those few seconds after you switch into the character are actually really crucial, because if they both iframe Carnage and Anti-Venom, or Agent Venom, or if they both do some kind of goofy-ass crowd control, you're going to get snared and then you're going to end up dying. So it happened a few times. It took me about 3 or 4 attempts to clear this stage, but I finally got it. Agent Venom was being such a dick. He was just dodging everything, but we finally got it to roll just based on kind of trial and error. This one with Warpath, I was actually very impressed. It's a stage 59. I had to try this one a couple of times to get the positioning right and to get the timing right. He's got a lot of CC. He's got a lot of crowd control with bleeds and stuns, in addition to kind of guard break on most of his skills. And then, of course, he's got that immunity on 3, and he's got the long iframe on 5. So he actually has a lot of different ways to shut you down, and he makes for a very good Shadowland clear character at a higher stage. I mean, I'm only level 60. I've got the 45% leadership from Goliath, but that's it. I'm not rocking a CTP. I'm rocking an ignore dodge 140 or 160 proc. It's not even a 200 proc or a 180, so he could definitely get better. I don't even have any Uru. I've got a stage 6 ISO 8 set, so my build is extremely free to play friendly, and he's rocking this shit. So I think he could definitely go up to, you know, possibly a stage 70, which is going into the kind of upper echelon of all stages, when you give him level 70 and you kind of build him out with better Obelisk and ISO 8 set and Uru. I was impressed, and you know, the only thing he's missing is basically a heal, and the heal is why I brought Groot along in case I got hit. Now, Groot's heal is not very good, and it's not very often, but it was just something to try and, you know, save him if I was about to die near the end. Spider-Man's always tricky to fight against because of that webbing, so I was just trying to keep that in mind and kind of stun lock him and guard break him as much as I could. And I had to try the stage 3 or 4 times before I got it right, but I did. So I think with practice, anybody could get used to Warpath, and he's pretty fun to play. He's got the all defense down on 5. I think he's a very good character for Shadowland. Moving on to stage 60, we've got Iron Man. I know you guys love Iron Man, so I wanted to showcase him a little bit as well. We did the Ghost Leadership for the 70, the whopping 70% energy attack bonus, 50 from the lead because he's a telekinetic type or whatever it's called, and then 20% from Ghost's tier 2 passive with the uniform applying to all allies. So that's nice. I just threw Rocket in there for the third token character because he's not gonna clear anything. I mean, he can clear a stage around 60, but it's quite difficult, and it's like a 3-minute clear. It's a long clear, so I just didn't want to put myself through that. But honestly, man, Iron Man Tony, he took a lot longer than I thought. Even though I was hitting most of these procs, the damage was just not that impressive, and I was like, come on, 70% leadership, team up with Ghost, and you got nothing for me. And yeah, it just takes so long. It's like a minute and a half for Tony to clear the stage. Level 70, mythic uniform, Uru, you know, CTP of destruction. I'm not rocking some goofy set on him. I'm rocking some pretty nice stuff. So I think like Loki, not as bad as Loki, but I think like Loki, Iron Man does need a bump, kind of like Black Panther, kind of like Thor. Whereas Captain America could probably stay the same and he would still be relevant because he doesn't have a lot of competition in the combat class. Man, there's so many blast types that outclass Iron Man. It's just insane. Like, you know, even Emma Frost with the uniform probably does more damage than he does, and she's better for PvP, which means she just completely outclasses him. It's kind of sad. I do hope that Iron Man and some of the other OG Avengers who have fallen behind get a lot more love in Endgame. Here we have a stage 61. This is definitely an early stage to use Quicksilver. I think a lot of my stages you guys are going to complain about that, but this one especially, like, what the hell is this guy doing? I just couldn't clear it with the original team. I was using Arachnite, Spider-Man, and one other speed type. I think it was Phantom X. There's energy reflect on the stage, and if you guys don't know, webbing attacks get classified as energy for some reason, so Spider-Man and Arachnite end up killing themselves to reflect. So I just needed a character who was full physical, who could just guard break and lock down, and that perfectly fits Quicksilver, and I was able to clear it. This 62 was really fun. I got to use Colossus, or sorry, not Colossus. Well, Colossus is there, but I got to use Juggernaut. I'm controlling Juggernaut. It's hard to see what's going on because there's a lot of animation effects and kind of random spasms, but their health goes down really fast, mostly due to Juggernaut with the CTP of energy. Now, Crescent's doing a pretty good job with the crowd control. You can see the fear and the paralyze on Dormammu. And Colossus is not bad, but he's not really going to do any reflecting because this is all energy damage. So it's basically coming down to Juggernaut, and he does a really good job with the type disadvantage against blast types. It's just kind of a mess of rocks and dirt getting thrown up. But it's fun. It's kind of like a powerhouse team of combat bullies. And then we're carrying Black Widow, Iron Hammer, and Archangel through the stage because I just didn't really see much value for them moving forward, but we did get lucky with another entry stage. This 63, we used your favorite PvP character, the best character in the game, Jean Grey. Guys, Jean Grey's the best character in the game. No, she's not, but she's still pretty useful for Shadowland. She can do above 63 for sure, but this is a decent stage for her given that I wasn't going to refresh. I mean, she could probably go into the 80s if you were going to keep refreshing for the anti-venom, the Agent Venom Carnage stage, the kind of 2-stage fire damage deals extra. But why would you waste hundreds of thousands of gold, possibly millions of gold, refreshing for that stage just so you can say that you used Jean Grey on a higher stage? So I think this stage works for her. The AoE helps her clear out the mobs faster, which allows more of the damage to stack onto Loki, which is basically the goal here, just trying to kill the boss. As soon as you kill the boss, I believe the stage is over, so you don't have to technically kill the mobs, but in this case it helps, and there's no way she's going to deal 12 million damage that quickly, so we actually do end up getting through the mobs pretty quickly in less than a minute, and then we just have to go against each other. It's kind of funny that he's freezing her, so it's like freeze versus freeze. Keep in mind, because this is a Lady Loki stage, even if I think I did still have at this point, She-Hulk's leadership, can't use it. So you do have to pay attention to some of the other stage kind of implicit stage restrictions. But she gets this done. Jean Grey's another type that needs a uniform, needs level 70 to really compete in the game. But I'm in no rush. to see her get a buff. She was dominant for way too long, a la Loki and some of these other characters. She doesn't need to be back on top anytime soon. I could wait another year, to be honest. But I know some of you guys really do enjoy her, so I wanted to show off a bit of clear action with her getting carried, or carrying Sentinel there. This stage 64 was pretty tense, as you'll see. Korath has a lot of CC, but he's very vulnerable, and I don't know what the hell happened there. I took a bunch of fire damage, but I was like, you know what? His damage is really good. He's already got Angela below half. Maybe if I can play a little bit more carefully and not be such a spaz, I can clear the stage. And I wasn't really using his third skill either. I waited for the character switch there with Red Hulk before I used the third skill. That's a pretty good thing to keep in mind when you're switching, or when you're playing with a character in Shadowland and they're about to die, the enemy's about to die and they're about to switch. If you're about to die, or if you don't want to take damage, you need to save a skill with an iframe or a skill with immunity, because that character, when they switch out and they start running at you, yeah, it can be pretty scary. And when you're trying to lock down enemies and you're trying to CC them, sometimes it's difficult to get the new character that runs in at you into the rotation, into kind of like the line of fire. And there's always the value of disengaging. So here I saw the fire on the ground, I ran away. I didn't want to take fire damage and then, you know, possibly die, and then that gave me more time to use my third skill and have that come off cooldown. So there's always value in kiting, even if it's just for a few seconds. And I ended up getting it done with basically no health for the entire match. I was quite impressed with my work here with Korath. Here we used 3 members of the Black Order. I love thematically how it's like, you know, Thanos' Black Order taking their frustrations out on the Ultrons for failing to get the what is it, the Soul Stone, the Soul Gem from Vision. So no, it's not Soul, Mind, the Mind Gem. That's right, Soul was on Vormir, the Mind Gem. So yeah, I screwed up the lore again for the MCU. Good job, Alex. I gotta rewatch all the movies apparently. Here I was pretty worried about Ebony Maw dying. I realized that he was starting to take a lot of damage, so I started playing kind of conservatively and just letting Corvus and Proxima do all the work. I took more damage actually, so then I decided, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna play even more defensively. And you can see Ultron popping off his lasers, actually trying to kill me, which is annoying but kind of impressive at the same time, that he can, you know, even though he's getting hammered by all of these Outriders and Proxima and Corvus himself, he still manages to get a few lasers off, trying to end me before the fight. But we managed to squeak through. I managed to get the full number of tokens, and we're on to the next stage. Here, Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is one of the best characters still in the game for Shadowland, because he can do any stage. It's not just the time freeze, it's not just the immunity, it's not just the skill cooldown reset, it's the debuff. The debuff that allows him to do that on Demons of Denak. Not that he needs it for this stage specifically, but just that he can do any stage. This is a pretty straightforward clear. I brought along X-23 and Emma Frost because I knew they could survive. Emma Frost has got the crazy 85% damage reduction on her diamond form, and then X-23's got that self-healing from Wolverine. So there's no chance they're gonna die. And with the 4-second freeze every 12 seconds, there's not a lot that they can do, i.e. the new Avengers. And this is honestly one of the most annoying stages in the game, so I wanted to just get through it without hassle, without punishment, because, you know, Songbirds snaring and stunning, White Tiger's immunity, and then even when you kill them, Squirrel Girl comes out and starts stunning you and summoning stupid-ass Tippy Toe, and Wiccan as well with the stuns and the snares and the giant AoE. It's a frustrating stage, or it can be. Here on stage 67, I did bring along characters who can die to physical reflect, i.e. Miles Morales, but I thought between Strife's insane debuffs and Morgan Le Fay's insane debuffs, there's no way that they're going to be able to actually get a hit off, and that's basically all you need to protect against. It's only Luke Cage and Jessica Jones that trigger the reflect, so you just need to crowd control those 2 characters for the duration of their HP. Once they're dead and you're down to Punisher and Iron Fist, you don't even have to worry about physical reflect being a possibility, because not all of the characters on the stage can trigger it. Additionally, if that wasn't enough, Miles Morales also has webbing on 2 of his skills, at least 2 of his skills, maybe just 1 or 2. Anyways, so there's just more crowd control, and there's enough to get through the stage pretty handily. Moving on to stage 68, this was a very easy melt through for Psylocke. Her damage is bananas, and it's actually really funny to see that with mind control, they actually end up fighting each other. So that's why you're seeing them attack each other. They actually do damage to each other. Not that I'm going to wait there and see them attack each other because, well, I do more damage than they do to each other. But it's just really funny to see the enemy kind of go at each other, even briefly for a second. It makes this, like, look, Hulkbuster nuking Captain America with his missiles. I think it's really, really funny. And it's something you don't see a lot because you usually don't even use these characters for Shadowland, or you kill them, you kill your enemy so fast that you never even see this happen, and it doesn't happen against World Boss because there's no one to attack back. So I think it's actually really funny. Moving on to stage 69, this stage was definitely very easy. Victorious is just a very strong character, especially with a CTP of Rage, so she could definitely push up into the 80s and 90s, but I just wanted to get it done quickly, and it's one of the best stages in the game to roll for because it's so easy. You do damage to one, you do damage to both, so you basically, if you get them together, you only have to do about 5 million damage because it stacks. So for that reason, you can really get it done quickly, and that's the point of a speed run, man. Here on 70, we use Tier 3 Cap. We got the team up from Winter Soldier. We've also got War Machine. But it's all Cap here, and we're basically letting loose with the Tier 3 skill, which is something that I never thought we'd be able to do in Shadowland. You know, when Tier 3 characters came out, a lot of people had that question, you know, we kill them. Tier 3 characters are so powerful, and at the time we only had, you know, Spider-Man, Iron Man, and Captain America, but Shadowland was so easy. It was only 30 or 35 stages, or 25 or 30 stages, and so people asked the question, and I asked the question, you know, we kill them. I kill Daredevil on stage 30 before Cap has a chance to charge his Tier 3 skill. How are we ever going to use Tier 3 abilities against Shadowland? When are we going to get Tier 3 characters in Shadowland? This one's actually super cute because I ended up charging it up, and letting it loose on the next set. So I actually skipped the majority of their health, and that made this a beautiful sub 1 minute speedrun. I loved that. Here on 71, we're using Thor. Thor can definitely go higher, and he can also go faster and further, baby. But he doesn't have a damage proc. Alright, I'll be honest with you. Thor still doesn't have an obelisk. Secretly, I kind of think he's going to get a uniform for Endgame. I also secretly hope to get enough CTPs of Rage where I can give him one, because I was really happy with his performance with the CTP of Rage. And I do think that Thor is a good candidate for the CTP of Rage because he's got multiple skills that deal good damage in 5 and 4. And 6's damage is not so great. And it's just difficult to time an energy proc with Thor, or even just a regular obelisk, not even a CTP of energy, but just a regular lightning damage obelisk. It's hard to time the proc. So I've kind of kept him naked for a while, which is why this is taking so long. No disrespect to Thor, we've got the team up with Lincoln and the extra team up with Medusa, so I saved characters specifically to clear with Thor to kind of help him along, but it still takes a while. I would love to see how fast this goes with an actual obelisk. It'll probably be like sub 30 seconds, which is amazing, and I love seeing all the lightning, but man, again, like Loki, like Iron Man, Thor is another character who's kind of falling out of the picture. It kind of sucks that certain characters, not sucks, but it's just kind of interesting how certain characters in Marvel Future Fight, they get a rework and they become relevant forever. But then other characters get one rework, get 2 reworks, and they still keep falling out of the meta after, you know, 8 months, after a year. Here on stage 72, we used Wolverine and Cable with Nick Fury's lead. Now, we've talked about the kind of annoyance of this stage because if you're a combat type, you do no damage to War Machine. If you're a speed type, you don't do as much damage to Falcon and Winter Soldier. So you kind of have to decide what you want to do. In this case, after I popped off the Tier 3 skill a couple times, I decided to switch over to Cable because, you know, you're gonna end up charging it up anyways, and I wanted to see how Cable's damage was specifically against War Machine. So I saw it was pretty nice. I almost killed him there, so I decided let's just pop off one more time, and then we can go back and we can finish him off with Wolverine. And I do think, well, we actually got greedy. We switched over to Nick Fury first. I do think this is probably the best tactic if you're going for pure speed. And you can even do it with 2 tier 3 characters and then trade back and forth between their tier 3 skills like they do with that stage 99 Corvus clear. It's a bit excessive for Shadowland in general, but it's nice for a speed run. Here on stage 73 we used Gambit, and I don't know if enough of you guys saw this, but Gambit's third skill has a fear effect when you hit them with it. So you see that it's actually a 5 seconds fear effect on his third skill, and it's actually 4 seconds. 4 seconds. I promise now. It's a 4-second fear effect on his third skill, but that's more than enough time to lock down the character. So it's actually really wild. Gambit's an amazing character for Shadowland. Originally, when I used him in Shadowland, when it first changed over to the new unlimited format, I didn't know that, and actually someone in the Twitch chat was kind of nice enough and clutch enough to tell me in the moment, hey Alex, use Gambit's third skill, because I was just using 5 and then running away. But because the arena is so much smaller in Shadowland, Gambit can't really kite. So it's actually crazy that they gave him that 4 seconds of fear. They did really think about his value in Shadowland, because he would be a lot worse if it were not for that fear, and he'd be a lot harder to play. This stage 74, I wasn't really too happy to get it because it has energy reflect, which of course is super dangerous for both, actually mostly for Luna Snow. But it wasn't Luna Snow, it was Misty Knight who kept taking damage. You can see her health dropped. It's now healing up. And this is the value of a tier 3 skill that heals. My Luna Snow tier 3 skill, I was popping the tier 3 skill and then purposely standing next to Misty Knight to heal her. And I didn't realize that the first few times, so I actually died like 3 or 4 times on this stage. Well, Luna died once, Misty Knight died about 3 times before I figured out that I could do that, and I could kind of carry her through the stage. This 75, Minerva can definitely die to physical reflect, but there's not a chance in hell that they're going to attack me. Actually, 2 of them got their immunity up, but for some reason they never reflected, or she was iframing the whole time. I kind of got lucky in that sense, but you know, Scarlet Witch can easily solo this stage. I'm just bringing along Weapon X for the team up, and of course those sweet Shadowland tokens. It's a clusterfuck, don't get me wrong, but it's beautiful, and it's nice to see their HP, you know, almost 10 million HP apiece. So we're talking 40 million HP among the 4 of them, and it's just melting away in like 40 seconds. So that is really, really nice, like 400,000 damage per second or something like that. Stage 76, we used Sabretooth. I was a little bit surprised at his damage. I expected it to be a little bit better at stage 70, especially passing the Beast buff over and having Beast's leadership for the 50% physical attack, but I guess it's just a really high stage. I mean, they only have about 7 million HP. Yeah, I don't know, I expected him to go faster. I don't know, maybe I need to give him a rage CTP, but I thought energy would be good enough. I mean, he can do stage 50 of Proxima World Boss Ultimate, so why can't he do this stage faster? I don't know. Maybe I'm expecting too much. Let me know if any of you guys out there have a really good, you know, top 1000 or top 500 Sabretooth. I know the level up event, or like the combat growth event, just ended for both of those characters, for Juggernaut and Sabretooth. So if there's any kind of, you know, well-built Sabretooths out there, if you remember what level you got to in Shadowland, hit me up. I think this is probably where you'd want to use him in general, because if you don't have Beast leadership, if you don't have this much of a buff to bestow on him, he might take the full 3 minutes, and then you're kind of getting into pretty dicey territory here. But it only took us about half the time. It took us about 1.5 minutes. I just expected a little bit faster from Sabretooth. I guess he is really showing off a lot of damage, and he's fun to play. He's actually really cool with all the slashing around, and I think he really does embody the character of Sabretooth quite well, and he's a good foil, I think, to Wolverine, who's more defensive, and he is a lot more kind of aggressive with the all defense down. Moving on to stage 77, this one ended so fast. Funny thing, I originally forgot to edit this video in because I thought it was a loading screen in between the 2 other clears for stage 76 and 78. So I actually realized that I was wrong at the end when I listed the last stage as 78 on the tag instead of 79. So I had to go back and find the stage. That's how quick it was. And I was just talking and you were paying attention and you just missed the whole clear. That's right. I didn't even need to use a tier 3 skill. That's right. Here, I will need to use a tier 3 skill. Mr. Fantastic tier 3, even with things leadership, still having to do quite a lot of work. And I don't know if it's the universal typing or the fact that these two other guys are combat types, so he doesn't have the advantage. Maybe if these were speed types, he'd go a lot faster. But honestly, I kind of expected Mr. Fantastic to be a little bit stronger in Shadowland here, especially with things 40% buff. I mean, he still gets it done, don't get me wrong. He's still doing a lot of damage, and he's doing it in a hurry as well. But I kind of expected more. He also has pretty low AoE on his tier 3 skill. You can see there that he kind of pushed Angela away from Red Hulk, and that lost all of the AoE on his tier 3 skill that would have applied to both of them. So I was kind of disappointed to see that. I was hoping that he would be able to catch them both with those giant fists, but you know, for some reason, I don't know how the AoE works in this game. It's a little weird. But we do end up getting it in just over a minute, so this is still a very respectable clear. This last stage, I saved 3 massive powerhouses. You can see there, Captain Marvel, Deadpool, and Magneto. These 3 characters each can clear a stage in the 90s or in the 100s. But the reason why I saved all 3 of them is because, for 2 reasons. They all have self-buffing leaderships, which is really important. And then for 2, I don't know what stage I'm going to get at the end. And if I get a villain stage, I need Magneto. If I get a stage where I need to use a speed type, I've got Deadpool. And then for basically everything else, especially a female stage, I can use Captain Marvel. So this is not necessarily the most efficient use of my roster if I'm going for pure speed. There are definitely some stages that I could have opted to swap one of these characters into rather than some of the other characters. But in this case, it saves me from having to refresh on the last stage when I have the fewest number of options. So let me know what you guys think of these Shadowland clears. Hit me up in the comments down below. Hit me up on Twitter with what you want to see next. Subscribe, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.